And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Wednesday, July 10th. I am the host for today's program, Paul Domain, and many of the stories read here can be found in our publication, News from Indian Country, or online at IndianCountryNews.com. And here are some of the news stories for the day. Less than 3 minutes into a meeting July 8th about alcohol sales in White Clay, the president of the Oglala Sioux tribe walked out on Nebraska Governor Dave Heineman. Tribal President Brian Brewer said he left because he felt the governor has no intention of trying to address alcohol-related problems that stem from the Nebraska town that sells millions of cans of beer and borders South Dakota's officially dry Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. He also accused Heineman of greeting him with a hostile tone, an allegation the governor denied. He has no plan. He said it's not his problem, it's my problem, solve it, Brewer said at a news conference after the meeting. Earlier, June 8th, Heineman said Nebraska has no legal authority to shut down the beer stores unless they violate state law. He said the tribe should provide education and treatment to curb alcohol abuse. A Phillips 66 pipeline with a record of prior accidents spilled an estimated 25,000 gallons of gasoline in a remote area outside of town on Montana's Crow Indian Reservation, but no public health problems were anticipated, according to federal officials. A representative of the Houston-based oil refinery and chemical company said the amount of leaked gas likely was less than initially reported, although no alternative figure was offered. The initial estimate came from a report submitted by the company to the government's National Response Center. Federal and tribal officials and the company worked July 5th to determine what caused the break in the 8-inch underground line. It occurred about 15 miles southwest of Lodge Grass, a town of about 430 people near the Wyoming border. The same line has seen at least 3 spills over the past 2 decades. The Bush Foundation is seeking applications for enrolled members of tribes in North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota as part of its Native Nation Rebuilders program. The program aims to strengthen leadership skills for leaders in 23 tribal nations. The program was launched in 2010. Over the course of the 2-year program, selected participants take part in 5 trainings led by regional and national experts in nation building and rebuilding and issues specific to Indian country. Applicants must be at least 25 years old, an enrolled citizen of one of the 23 nations, and currently living in North Dakota, South Dakota, or Minnesota. The deadline to apply is August 15th. Enforcement of the Indian Child Welfare Act, protecting sacred sites, and the Keystone XL pipeline will be among the topics discussed at a gathering of Sioux tribal leaders this week in Rapid City, South Dakota. The Standing Rock Sioux tribe is hosting the meeting that started July 8th. The meeting is the 3rd in a series between the 7 Sioux tribes in South Dakota and the Spirit Lake Nation in North Dakota. The tribes began meeting on a regular basis earlier this year to better focus their resources. Experience shows that all going in separately, whether it's Congress or meeting with state officials, it just doesn't carry as much weight, said Terry Yellowfat, the Indian Child Welfare Act director for the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. But as a group, and we are called the Great Sioux Nation, basically we are one family. South Dakota's adherence to the Indian Child Welfare Act is a major issue for the tribes, according to Yellowfat. This year's Black River Powwow in St. Clair County, Michigan has been canceled. Coordinator Joe Grew tells the Times-Herald of Port Huron, Michigan, there isn't enough money to hold the event. It had been scheduled for July 27th through the 28th. More than 1,500 people attended the 2-day event last year. This would have been the 8th year for the event in Kimball Township. It's sponsored by the Woodland Métis Aboriginal Association of Michigan. Lakudere Ojibwe tribal authorities are contemplating the drafting of a letter to state and federal authorities indicating their concerns over the stationing of a militia for hire from Arizona, complete with armored vehicles and automatic assault rifles on land open for public and treaty harvest. The militia is guarding a drill site of a proposed 22-mile-long open pit mine owned by Gogebic Taconite in the Pinocchio Mountains Heritage Park of northern Wisconsin, south of the Bad River Reservation. All 11 Wisconsin tribes and many local citizens opposed the huge project, owned and funded by out-of-state corporate interest. The armed militia from Scottsdale, Arizona, called Bulletproof Security, was hired following the theft of a cell phone from a geologist working for the company. Tribal officials have expressed concern that the militia and assault rifles send the wrong message to tourists who have canceled their plans to visit the area and may be an incident or accident awaiting to happen for nearby tribal members picking wild strawberries and harvesting birch bark on the same lands. And that's going to be another roundup of news from Indian Country. On this edition of the Native News Update, we want to say miigwech for joining with us and come back again soon.